With the news of KR models going into liquidation this week, it got me thinking about the current landscape that this industry finds itself in. Prices are going up, but some manufacturers are doing a really good job at trying to balance this with their consumers. However, some manufacturers are struggling, Hornby and Bachmann to name a few, and some manufacturers have had to shut up shop, which is where KR Models has unfortunately gone to. And I'm not here today in this video to critique their business model in any way. There are plenty of YouTube channels out there that are doing exactly that already. What I'm going to do today is actually create a hypothetical scenario where if I was commissioned to produce 3 brand new model locomotives, and I'm going to pick steam locos because that is my passion, which 3 models would I select based on being able to crowdfund for them? Now, paying up front for models is somewhat of a dying trade in this industry, and obviously it's because it costs a lot of money and you have to put a lot of trust in the business, and that's a lot of risk for the customer to take. But as a little bit of fun today, I wonder whether you guys would actually purchase any of my 3 models. So what I will do in this video is explain which 3 models I've chosen, why I think they would be good crowd-funded models and people would do this for them. And I've also designed a little bit of a specification, and I've used AI to give me what the model might look like as well, which is really cool. And then at the end, I'll give a brief summary assessment using a star rating to kind of give you my critical thoughts on my ideas, which should be lots of fun. Please let me know in the comments whether you would actually buy one of these models if it was to happen, or let me know any other models that you would love to see just be produced in general, or models that you would like to personally crowdfund for. So, should be a fun video. Let's get right in to the first locomotive. All right, so to begin the idea around my first crowd-funded locomotive, I've actually gotten out one of my current non-operational models and I've placed it in Queensbury Yard, and that is of course the Raven LNER Q6. And I love the design of this model, being an 080 wheel configuration, totally unique to most traditional freight locomotives. I have fond memories of hearing the sole survivor at the North Yorkshire Moors Railway climbing up that 1 in 49 gradient out of Goathland. They sound absolutely excellent. However, the next locomotive in the Vincent Raven sequel enacted as the ultimate high-powered freight locomotive that evolved from the Q6, and that is of course the Q7, which would be the first locomotive I would produce. Now, my rationale for choosing this model is, although its niche operational history makes it too high risk for mass market manufacturers like Hornby to produce as a standard catalogue item, I believe it hits the exact sweet spot for specialist crowd-funded commissions as a limited run production, and here's why. I've observed over the years at exhibitions and speaking to other people who engage with this hobby, and also looking on social media, that the time dock to concert operation legacy, the Q7 worked, has strong cult followings. The locomotive hauled heavy iron ore trains at brutal 1 in 35 gradients along the route, which has legendary status amongst NER and LNER enthusiasts. So this would really give me a guaranteed, dedicated, ready-to-buy target audience, in my opinion. I think the other aspect of this model that goes in its favour is the fact that there were only 15 produced, 5 from the North Eastern Railway and 10 by the LNER. The data suggests huge model manufacturers usually avoid classes with fewer than 50 to 100 locomotives produced, unless they are a superstar, because they lack the mainstream recognition. However, a crowd-funded project thrives on this exact scarcity, so I believe that there would be a strong, passionate niche community that would want to buy this model. 5 of the class were also modified in the 1950s with twin Westinghouse pumps, and they were mounted predominantly on the side of the locomotive. This would give me visual marketing tooling variations, encouraging collectors to buy multiple models potentially. They also have 3 cylinders, which means they would have a unique sound profile, which would contrast nicely on the eye based on how it looks on the outside. Lastly, like the Q6, there is one sole survivor, which is number 901, and that is the original first built, the one from 1919, and that is part of the National Collection and has a history of running on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway in preservation as well. This means I could physically 3D laser scan the real locomotive, drastically lowering CAD design costs and ensuring pinpoint accuracy. From an enthusiast perspective, this would also target the preservation market, which stretches beyond the historical niche into the modern era. In terms of specification features, I would have a die-cast boiler running plate and chassis. There'd be a firebox flicker in there. There'd be driver and tender wheel pickups, and I'd make those wiper ones. There'd be a 5-pole motor in there, dual flywheels for smooth running, geared for slow speeds as it's a freight locomotive, and I would also have the matte effect on the smoke box. Model variants, I would have all of the same prototype, the 901, and I'd have it in NER as built from 1919. I'd have it in the LNER as preserved, and I would make this an exclusive through one of the retailers, and I would have it in BR Black with the lake crest, and I'd also opt for a removable Westinghouse pump because there are images of this locomotive with and without that Westinghouse pump. And if we look at pictures of the real thing, you can actually see where the bracket would sit for this pump. So I think a friction fitted pump would actually be a good option here, and then people can customize their tooling themselves. And lastly, for pricing, RRP, I would go for £179.99. And for the exclusive model, I would go for £199.99. And for the sound profile, I would make that £269.99. So, what do I think of this potential project? I've designed a little bit of a table, and I've done an assessment grade out of 5 stars over the 5 factors listed to the left. So what I've gone for prototype uniqueness is a 4-star because it is distinct, but it's not obscure, and I think that will go in its favour. For historical interest, I've given a 5-star out of 5 because it is very strong within the North Eastern Railway and the London North Eastern Railway community as a heavy freight loco, and with the Tyne Docks significance, that should bump it up to that 5-star. The market size, I would give a 4 out of 5 because it does have a broad appeal across multiple eras. The tooling complexity is not in bold because really you want these stars to be as low as possible. Mine is high. I've given it medium to high 4-star because there is the valve gear to think about, the long wheelbase, so it might be difficult to balance in terms of weight, but also the Westinghouse pump tooling variations as well. And then for crowdfunding suitability, overall, I've given it a 4 out of 5-star, and I believe it would be a very strong candidate in the community of people that would be interested in it. So that would be my first commissioned crowd-funded locomotive, and I got Copilot to design me this train and also put it with a model scene, and it looks pretty good. I think they've done a good job with it. So yeah, it's not 100% accurate, but it's nice to see it as a what if in model form. So yeah, that is my first loco. Let's get on to the next one. The next model I would commission as a crowdfunder project would be something that is popular and recognisable to the early industrial shunting enthusiasts, and that is the Sentinel 7109 Joyce. Now, although there is a Sentinel version available made by Dapple with its 040 vertical boiler design, there are no models that have been produced that match Joyce's unique early 1927 design, gear arrangement, or body shape, making it a strong candidate straight off the bat. Shunting engines, as we've seen with many other models, are extremely popular in the model railway community, but this particular one has quite a lot of historical significance. As I've already mentioned, it has a unique mechanical design with a vertical boiler, transverse engines and a chain drive, as well as its direct link to the S&DJR history, a fan favourite region among modelers. It is also famous for its early LMS testing days, where it managed 1,000-ton haul at Newton Heath, and also managed a 250-ton load up a 1 in 40 gradient. The tests also found that it could be ready to run within an hour from cold, which you could 100% replicate for realism in a model railway scene. Its distinct appearance means it will have a strong shelf presence. Its chunky, unique proportions make it visibly striking for display collectors, even with its small size. But, as we have learned from other crowd-funded projects like the GT3, prototype models with unusual silhouettes tend to perform well because they stand out. The tooling would not be too complicated either, because the model would be small, mechanically easy to design, and would have a single chassis as well. Lastly, it has an outstanding operational flexibility because it's a small 040 industrial locomotive, meaning it would be suitable for shunting layouts, industrial scenes, fictional freelance layouts, and of course the S&DJR themed concepts as well. It would also fit a heritage railway layout, as Joyce herself has an active preservation story and following as well, which crowdfunding models thrive on. Of course, there would be some challenges, and that would be competing with Dapple's very good existing Sentinel, but the unique design of this model would present good competition in my opinion. Alright, so in terms of specification features, for this one I've gone for, again, a die-cast boiler, running plate and chassis. All-wheel pickup, but I would opt for plunger pickups. I know Dapple did a really good job with those on the Hawthorne Leslie. I'd opt for a 5-pole motor. There'd be a flywheel and stay alive fitted due to its short wheelbase. It will be geared, of course, for slow speed runs, and I'd also provide etched nameplates as well. For model variants, obviously I would go for Joyce herself, and I would have it as the original condition. I've got a photo of it here. This is the only one I could find from when it was first produced. And then I'd also do the LMS Blacked, which is how it is preserved. And for pricing, I would go for an RRP of £129.99 as a DCC ready version. And for a sound fitted version, I would go for £199.99. So for my assessment then, for prototype uniqueness, I've gone for 5-star on this because it is extremely distinctive. It doesn't have a visible valve gear because it's got that chain link. It also has a very funny shaped outer casing and a vertical boiler. What more can you ask for in terms of distinctive? For historical interest, I've gone for strong at 4-star. It is a Sentinel, they are quite well known. It's had some significant shunting performances, and of course it has links with one of the most famous railway regions. Market size, I've gone for a similar rating. I've put moderate to high because it does have industrial and preservation fans. Tooling complexity, this is one of the lowest. I've given it 2 out of 5 because it does have a boxy body and it will have a simple chassis. And for crowdfunding suitability, I've gone for 3 out of 5 because I think it would be a good candidate, but there are a lot of shunting locomotives already out there. And once again, I've used AI to make this image into a model form with a white background, just so we can see what it might have looked like on the website. And here it is, Copilot once again delivering. It absolutely looks spot on, and it's even added some crew figures in for me as well. All right, so we have hypothetically commissioned a goods locomotive and a shunting locomotive. That means all we've got left is to commission an express passenger locomotive. And before I tell you which one I've gone for, I'm going to give you a few details. I would market this model as the highest specification. It would have a premium finish, have all the premium features as well, And of course, it would have the special edition artistic packaging. And I asked Copilot once again to convert an image into this style. Look at what it came up with. Yes, I would opt for a BR Express Blue version of the A2 Peppercorn class Blue Peter. This locomotive would be an excellent candidate for a crowd-funded 00 gauge model because it is the only surviving Peppercorn A2 and has also recently been back in the public eye in this striking Express Blue livery. Lots of you may remember the older Bachmann versions of this model, argued to be the more traditional liveries, but this BR Express Blue in particular was short-lived during the age of steam and only applied to a few classes, so enthusiasts, they love a what if or a rare transitional livery for sure. And, certainly the decision to paint Blue Peter in this for post-overhaul running has generated plenty of discussion and attention. Its strong public profile has created a huge fan base, TV recognition and a long preservation story, being one of the earliest to be preserved for future operation rather than static display. An extra bit of history which makes it suitable for regular running on anyone's model railway. This gives a model like this extremely high market power, and I also think its current condition would boost demand for the model, which would allow me to create a more premium high specification for it. The locomotive itself has only just returned to steam, so I would incorporate a steam generator within the design with sound features also included. Even though a challenge would be competing with Hornby as they already have produced an A2 themselves, although they have not yet done this at the highest specification, nor the most famous one, so that would give me an advantage in the market. For the specification features that I've already mentioned, it will be fully entirely made of die-cast aside from the tender body itself or the tender shell. There'd be a firebox flicker in there. Driving and tender wheel pickups would be wiper ones because they're the most reliable. It'd have a coreless motor because they're the best motors I've seen around for good slow speed and high speed running. It would have a flywheel and be geared reasonably for all speeds. I'd also provide etched nameplates and working lamps as well. And of course, it would be steam and sound compatible. Model variants, I would only produce this BR Express Blue as it is currently preserved. That's what I think would give me the highest market value. And then for pricing, for the RRP, for a DCC ready version, I've set it at £279.99. And then for the DCC sound, it would be £369.99. And for the smoke and sound, we would have just under £400, which I know is a lot for crowdfunding, but I genuinely think people would absolutely pay upfront for this model if somebody was going to do it, because it's such an icon of the railways, particularly now in preservation. It's got a whole new group of fans, and I really think the model community would absolutely pay for this model upfront if they knew of the specification. So for the assessment then, I've gone 5 out of 5 for the prototype uniqueness. It's one of only 3 A2s that were produced, and this one is the sole survivor. For historical interest, again, I've gone top marks for this. It's going to be very strong. LNER Pacifics are absolutely loved by loads of people, and it also has TV fame too. Market size, again, top marks. It's going to be large. It's obviously suitable for mainline steam enthusiasts, and it has a large group of preservation fans too. The tooling complexity, it's done well to get 3 out of 5 for this one. I think it would be medium because it will have a Pacific style chassis and the valve gear as well, which would represent some complexity. And then for crowdfunding suitability, I've gone for 4 out of 5. And the reason why it doesn't get full marks, although it is an incredibly strong candidate, is because of the amount of money you would have to invest to pay up front. And that is the big one. There would definitely have to be some kind of monthly payment scheme for people to be able to afford this. So yeah, it doesn't get the full marks for this one, but there we go. I think that's fair. And instead of using an AI version for this, I'm actually using Bomber County Models' version. They got an old Bachmann Blue Peter converted into BR Express Blue by the 62C Workbench. This is the second model that he has done that is in this livery, a Blue Peter one. And they also got it converted by DigiTrains Limited to have the sound and smoke. And I have to say, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Here are some of their videos that they shared on Facebook. Alright guys, that is going to be the end of the video for today. I hope you've enjoyed this interesting spin-off. Please do let me know down below whether you would buy one of my hypothetical commissioned crowd-funded models. And if you wouldn't, then let me know which ones you would crowdfund for. It'd be really interesting to create some discussion down below on this topic. But for now, thanks again for watching, and we're back on Thursday for another Random Running Days. Take care. All the best.